Hello, good evening, and good day to everyone. We are back with one more webinar with Karenna Wood. Hello, Karenna. I'm very happy to have you back. You were with us on Friday already, and now it's another topic that you will talk about tonight. Definitely, again, important, interesting, and I'm very happy to again have you here. How have you been? How is it going so far today?
Yes, really good. Really privileged to be back here again. So thank you for having me here.
We
Back
are
on our
always happy to have you, that's for sure. And well, as you can see, we will discuss tonight importance of support groups. Karenna has already talked a bit on that on Friday, but of course today we will explore it a little bit more. And of course, as always, you know that after Karenna's done with her talk, we will have this Q&A session. So if there's anything that you would like to share, comment, or just simply ask, type those in the chat section, and I'm sure Karenna will be happy to help you out with anything that's on your mind. And as always, it's wonderful to see you. We are this time, of course, it's 12 p.m. But as you know, Karenna is on Australia. Sorry, so of course we just needed to find the perfect time. And I'm still happy that I can see some people that joining us, and I'm sure it's going to be useful. And before we start with the presentation, I just want to mention that, as you know, my IVFS is a part of European Fertility Society, and this society has been simply created to support you, to give you the chance to meet top fertility experts, but fertility coaches like Karenna is, of course. And well, we know that whenever you are going through IVF treatment, you need that kind of support. And we are here every single day, just simply just so we can give you that opportunity to ask your questions, to find out, learn a bit more on the treatment itself, but also that emotional aspect as well. And if you already have seen on our My IVFNS's website, there are over 350 webinars. So if you haven't seen it yet, I can only encourage you to have a look at it. There is plenty of interesting webinars there, and I'm sure you will find it useful as well. And that will be it from me right now. Let's get going with our presentation then. Yeah.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karenna Wood. I'm an international fertility coach and the founder of YourFertilityHub.com. I am a very passionate advocate for women and couples getting more emotional support during infertility. And I truly believe this is an area that we don't talk about enough, that there just isn't enough out there about this. So I'm so pleased that you're here tonight to listen in to me talk specifically about support groups. But as Caroline said, there's lots of webinars available about much wider, that whole emotional topic. And there's much more on YourFertilityHub.com if you want to have a look into that sort of area. So I've been a fertility coach for a decade now. So I've been coaching one-on-one with women. And I also coach through my app, Your Fertility Toolbox, which I'll talk to you a little bit about at the end as well. But support groups, let's delve in and have a chat about those. Now, when you are thinking of joining a support group, everyone has this, I guess, stereotypical image in their mind of almost like one of those Alcoholics Anonymous type meetings. Everyone's in a room, sitting around in a circle, shuffling in their seats, embarrassed, not making eye contact. You've got to stand up, do an icebreaker type of exercise. You've got to say your name and what your story is and maybe what your challenge is at the moment. And a lot of people feel really uncomfortable, really embarrassed, and just don't feel that sort of thing is going to help them, especially as they go through infertility and hearing those other experiences. So that is that vision. I don't know whether that's the vision that you guys have had or you've actually had that experience of a support group. But that's the typical experience, typical view, but it's not necessarily the only way. And that's what we're going to delve into tonight, that there's actually lots of different types of support groups out there. And that's why you can find the one that works for you. But let's talk about why you need a support group and why that they actually really can be incredibly beneficial for you. Now, going through infertility and particularly going through treatment as well, IVF, IUIs, etc., is incredibly stressful. It impacts on all areas of your life. So it impacts your relationships, not only your close relationships, but your entire social life. It impacts you financially, which can be very stressful. It impacts your lifestyle. You might be making changes to your diet or your exercise or your environmental toxins and working on all of those areas. You might be doing all the list of things that you feel you need to do in terms of acupuncture or supplements, and doing all those lifestyle extra things and alternative therapies. And you yourself are likely feeling really quite up and down. As we know, we always talk about the roller coaster of infertility. It can be very, very up and down through your cycle, through what people can say to you, the insensitive comments, things that you might read or see on social media, all of these things around you. It is just absolutely huge, this area, and huge the level of impact it can have on you. You know, one study actually compared the levels of stress and depression within the infertility community to the same as those with a terminal illness. Now, just take that in for a moment. That is crazy. It really is that there isn't the support out there really for this, because it is so serious, the impact it can have on you. But what I want you to know is there are some really positive things that you can do to help improve your experience of infertility. Genuinely improve it. One of those ways is to reach out for support. So, and actually joining a group. Now, some of the studies have actually shown when we're part of a community, when we feel we belong to a community or a group, that in itself can have a huge impact on how we feel. Because infertility can be incredibly isolating and alienating, even with people that do understand what you're going through. And there's a wonderful TTC community out there. There's a real variety of experiences. But also outside that, you know, your family and friends may just not understand what you're going through and will definitely not understand that deep impact it will be having on you. So seeking out your tribe, seeking out your support group, and having and seeking out that feeling of belonging can be so beneficial to you. It will give you somewhere where you can go, where you can vent, where you can seek support, where you can just get that me too understanding, someone who gets it. And that's why choosing the right support group for you and the right avenues for you to seek that support is important, that it is that right kind of support. But a support group can be incredibly beneficial. Now, what I often like to do is really address sort of both negative and positive things to help you make decisions, because decision making in itself is a huge part of infertility. There's lots of things that you need to make decisions on, right from very minor things up to the really big things. When it comes to choosing your support group, things around or what you might experience in support group, there are some potential negatives, and I think it's important to address those up front. So a lot of people can, especially when the very initial thing is, experience a lot of fear around going to a support group, like really build it up into a lot of fear. I used to run a face-to-face support group for infertility here in Perth. And that was something that I found a lot of people would sign up and then sort of drift away as we got to the actual event. And some of that, when I got in touch with them on a one-to-one basis, they were saying, I was just scared. I was scared to come. I didn't know what it was going to be like. So there can be a fear, particularly of attending a face-to-face event. But as I'll talk about, overcoming that fear and sometimes really working through, pushing through that comfort zone can be so well worth it. A few other potential negatives of a support group is that feeling of overwhelm. So if there's a lot of information, if it's more of an information-based group, some of that information can feel a little bit overwhelming, or sometimes even just the stories in the room can feel overwhelming to you as well. And you can actually sometimes take on board some other people's stories. Now, that's one thing I'd really love you to do, is to really be aware when you're doing that. It's important and it's wonderful to listen to other people's stories, but they're not your story. So it doesn't necessarily mean just because the lady sitting opposite you is on round 8 of IVF that you will have to go through 7 rounds of IVF to get to where she is. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will have the same experience as someone going through it. So it's important to listen to these stories, but to create a bit of a boundary within yourself and say, that's their story, I know mine. And just be really almost a bit assertive with yourself in terms of what stories you're letting in, and that sort of thing, because that can be really important as well. Really, in terms of other negative outcomes, there isn't many. There's a lot of positivity that you can get from joining a support group. So what are those positive benefits? Well, obviously, as I said, that feeling of belonging, that feeling of joining a group and being part of something. There is nothing like it when you have been feeling very alone and very isolated, to reach out, to go through that comfort zone and to be rewarded with such warmth and positivity and encouragement, and that feeling where you're not alone anymore. That in itself can be such a huge benefit of joining a support community or a support group. There can be lots of other benefits in terms of finding out some really great information, meeting friends that you can take outside of the support group, or even long-term friends. There's many people who've met people in a time of crisis like this and then gone on to be lifelong friends. It can also have really positive impacts on the rest of your life, because when you're feeling more positive, that then impacts everything in your life. So it impacts your relationships particularly. For example, your partner might really notice, after a support group, you come home much more bubbly, more excited, talking to him, etc. So that can have a really positive impact on you, your mindset, which then impacts relationships. It can also just really help to feel that you've got some structure as well. So you've got your structure either through IVF or through your natural cycle of going through that, but having a structured, arranged support group at a set time and date can also help really bring some structure. You can be looking forward to that event and really, or something that you can really use as part of your calendar of positive things to help keep you going and keep you motivated. Because funnily enough, motivation is often something that people come to me for help with during the coaching. And that's another great positive outcome of this, is that having those other people around you to support you can actually help keep you motivated and keep you going at a time when you might feel too low to be able to do that just by yourself. So there is a huge amount of positive benefits of going to a support group, either in person or virtual, which we'll talk about. So it's just important to kind of go through that fear, push through that fear in that initial sort of stepping out of your comfort zone to go into the group. So the types of support groups. Now, there is lots of different types of support groups out there in lots of different avenues, and I'm not going to be able to touch on all of them, but I will just sort of give you a few ideas. First of all, I guess there's a bit of a distinction between in-person support groups, which are location-based, and virtual support groups, which could be anywhere. And virtual support groups are generally run via something almost a bit like this, where you have some sort of facilitator, and then you can either have video cameras on or video cameras off. It could be chat-based or it could be audio-based. But there's lots of different virtual groups out there. The next thing is looking about where you might find one of these. For example, some of the Facebook groups run events, support groups, etc. That might be somewhere you could look. You may want to look through your clinic. They may run a support group, either in person, virtual, or a Facebook group, or something that is very specific to your clinic. That sort of feeling of belonging to the same clinic can also really help bring you together. And also being in the same location can also help with any questions or recommendations that you may have. There's also the things like Clubhouse, which is a relatively new and popular thing at the moment. There's several fertility rooms on there that you could join and listen into. And there's bigger organizations as well that you can look at within your country, which offers support groups. So for example, Resolve is a wonderful organization in the US, infertility charity that runs lots of online events, but also in-person events. And they have ambassadors all over the country working to support women. You might find support groups that are, for example, faith-based. So Mums in the Making, for example, in the US is a Christian faith-based support organization. So there is so many different ways. And you may also want to find really specific support. So for example, if you have a diagnosis, for example, like endometriosis or PCOS or male factor infertility, something like that, you may want to look for a specific support group around those if you're after more information and specific support on those exact topics, diagnoses. So those are some of the types of support groups, but really there are so many. And I think the most important thing is trusting your intuition when you're looking around and searching online, trusting that journey, and also just knowing, like, if something isn't right for you, it's totally okay to pause it or to walk away from it and say, this is just not for me. And that's totally okay. But the amazing thing is that you went and you tried. So just give them something a try. If it's not right for you, you can walk away, but you never know. This could be a real game changer for you in terms of how you experience infertility. Another thing is also being prepared for a support group. Now, this sounds a little bit funny, but you may want to bring along like a notepad and pen. You may want to block out the time beforehand, but particularly afterwards in your calendar, because it may be upsetting for you. It may be just something that you need to emotionally just come down from. For example, I run mine often in the evening and I do a meditation at the end. So I often say to people, this is your wind down time. So just sort of be aware of sort of making the right time for you. It's not something that you necessarily want to rush into and rush back from. So have a look around the times of the events and groups that you can get involved in that might really suit you and your schedule. But I think one of the final messages is really, it is so important for you to go out there and to connect. Like, you've come onto this webinar for a reason tonight, because you are seeking out something more. You are seeking out more support. You are feeling like you need more in your life. And when you choose to connect, when you choose to believe that that support is out there, it can really be a catalyst for so much change. So, you know, we've seen some huge shifts in women when they do make those moves and commit to going, yes, I need to, you know, live through this in a better way. So when they choose, and when you choose to connect, and when you make that brave step of introducing yourself and telling your story and saying, this is what your challenge is, and this is what, you know, has anyone else gone through this, or has anyone got any support they can offer to this, or even just sharing your story for people to just say, gosh, I'm really sorry, that's really tough. Because sometimes that in itself is just what you want to hear. So when you choose to connect, you really can reap so many benefits from your support group. So I just wanted to take an opportunity, just as an example, to share the support group and the app that I run. So I run an app called Your Fertility Toolbox. It's a web-based app that you're welcome to join for free through my website at yourfertilityhub.com. And through that, we actually run a monthly virtual group. And just as an example of how this works, is that people log on via Zoom and we all chat and we just, you know, gain experiences. And some of the feedback that I've had from that is how humbling it is to meet other people whose stories, how much it helps take take you out of your own perspective. You can often be very sort of consumed with your infertility journey, and even just hearing other people talk about theirs can just sort of open your mind up and open your perspectives. So we've had some really great feedback from our support group, and the focus of the Toolbox is really about providing relaxation and mindset and wellness tools. So, excuse me, as I said, each group that you go to will have its focus, and it's about finding the one that's right for you. So we do like a short meditation at the end, a guided meditation that I do at the end of our support group, just to really relax everyone, and also sometimes at the beginning to get everyone into the right space. So it can really help to know what's going to work for you. Meditation isn't something you have to be scared of. It really is just being guided into a relaxed state. So you can also sort of through Facebook groups and groups and things like that, you can get that same feelings in a way of a support group. So you can be members of, there's so many, particularly on Facebook, of these groups out there. And we have our own through the Toolbox app as well. The reason we built the app and the reason we took it away from social media is because social media can sometimes be a real source of pain for you. So what I wanted to do was create something separate and away from social media, somewhere that was just positive and inspiring and talking around how you feel about infertility, not just all the information about infertility, as a lot of the groups are quite information based. So one thing I often say to my clients is around, we can't control infertility, but we can control our own response to it, and we can control our own environment. And I'd actually like to say that to you, that's actually really important. For example, recently I was talking to one of my clients, and she had subscribed to everything she could about endometriosis. So she really took on board a lot of the stories, experiences of other people. And she was basically almost building up a bit of a fear and stress state around endometriosis and the fact that it might mean she may never conceive. So I just said to her, I said, how about you just for now pause the communication that's coming into you around your endo, just to really give you a break and also give you a chance to really set your own story. And to set your beliefs around what your endometriosis means to you and what it means in terms of your certainty that you will conceive in the future. So it is important that you almost curate that environment around you. So if you are finding some of the groups or social media feeds and that sort of thing quite stressful, or that sometimes things pop up like pregnancy announcements and things, they can be very painful and can often cause you to spiral negatively, that it is okay to pause those, that it's okay to say no to people that bring you down, or it's okay to say no to people that suck your energy. During this, you have to look after yourself. You're going through something really tough. So you need to curate that right environment. And sometimes that does include changing the settings on your social media. Because a lot of the feedback we've had, for example, within the Toolbox, is that a lot of members have come over to the Toolbox and paused that sort of daily going into social media feeds, and that it's been very helpful for their mindset to do that. So that just gives you one example of another way that you can really use groups in the right way for you to support you as you're going through this. So also within our app, we've also got private connection with members, so you can message members back and forth in a secure environment. And you can also message coaches, myself, and we also have other wellness coaches within the app. So finally, we also do a spotlight member each month. So I do a call, like a fertility coaching call with a member each month, and we share that with all the members. And so that really just gives you a window, because sometimes people's stories that you can get through these groups, or like the spotlight member, can be so important to your mindset, to hear someone else's story and hear the real inner workings of it, as we do in our spotlight member calls. Like, how did you feel when this happened? How did you cope with the miscarriage? These are the kind of questions I ask. And so to actually get on the inside of those stories can be really helpful for you and really comforting. Another thing I just wanted to mention is the reason it's called Your Fertility Toolbox is because over the years as a coach, I've developed a lot of tools to help my clients. Things like here, meditations, connection support, relationship advice, mindset tools, things like workbooks and affirmations, and loads and loads of things. There's over 100 tools in there. And plus wellness, there's a real confusing environment out there around diet, around movement, around all the lifestyle elements. So we've brought all that together into the toolbox. We've got a nutrition coach and a yoga coach, and all these kind of really lovely things that bring it into one place for a member. So if you're seeking some more tools as well, the Your Fertility Toolbox app is built to help deliver those for you, and you can access them at any time, 24/7 on your phone. Because that's the other thing, is that support is wonderful when you're reaching out to others. But I think it's really important that you know that there's so many things that you can do, that you can take control of your mindset with as well at home on your own. So even just listening to a meditation, so just Google fertility meditations or have a look at some of ours on YouTube, just gives you an idea of how you can relax your body, relax your mind, calm your mind, and just to find the right tools for you. You know, I often say that you think of tools like this as like a buffet, that you just choose and try a few things, but you kind of end up sticking to the things that you really like. So go out there and find the things that work for you to help you relax, to relieve your stress, to help you be more positive. Is it finding some quotes and pinning those on Pinterest? Whatever it is, anything that you can do to help your mindset, as well as getting that group support, can be so beneficial and life-changing, even whilst going through infertility. Because that's what I want you to know, is that you can improve the experience of infertility right now, even whilst you are still not pregnant. Even when you are going through the stresses and strains of IVF, you can experience it in a better way when you really work on this area and commit to you, because you are at the center of your fertility journey. So it's really important to remember that, and to put you at the heart of it by looking after your mindset, reaching out for the support that you need, and doing the best you can to help yourself as the focus, and not just sort of be taken away on the ride, the roller coaster ride that is infertility and IVF. Now, if you'd like any more details, you can go on over to our website, yourfertilityhub.com. You can listen to our podcast. There's some awesome episodes on there, specifically talking around some of the things, some of the stories, and a lot of the things that I've touched on today. I do one-to-one coaching. And also, as you can see, the Toolbox app is available through our website. You can access many things for free, or if you join for $19 a month, you can also access all of those yoga classes, recipes, etc. You can also connect with me on social media. So if you have any questions after this webinar, please feel free to just connect with me via Facebook or Instagram, or come on over to YouTube and watch some of the videos and meditations that we've got on there. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you for your time tonight. I know how precious it is, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have, even if they're not quite fully related to support groups. I'm an emotional support coach, so if there's anything that you're struggling with, please feel free to pop it into the comments. So I can see a couple of questions there from Diana, and hi from Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hi. Yes, thank you so much, Karenna. As always, you are inspiring, and you just have this way of saying simplest things, and you just want to listen, and I wouldn't mind to listen to you even more and more. So thank you so much for that. You know, it's been great to have you back, that is for sure. And yes, you are right, there are some questions, of course. So as Karenna mentioned, if you would like to share anything, ask anything, you can do it now. But if not, you can always get in touch with Karenna, and as she mentioned, she'll be able to help you out as well. Let's have a look, okay? The question from Diana is right here. So do you know any support groups that cluster both men and women, their partners, right?
Thank you. Great question, Diana, because I have to be honest, it is not the usual. It is not usual for the support groups to be both. There are a very limited number of support groups and support events for men going through infertility, unfortunately. I wish there was more. Our focus is women at Your Fertility Hub. It is an area that we're looking into how we can support men more. It's very rare to find one altogether, men and women. Some of the areas that you may find those are actually more around the going through a relationship therapist. Any of those in your area that maybe specialize in infertility, some of them may bring together the women and men in their groups. And just so you know, Harvard have been running a study through Boston IVF, and it's been one of the most long-running fertility studies into emotional support. And they run a 10-week program, and I think it's several weeks through that, they actually bring the male partners in on that. And it's actually been very, very successful that they do that. So I'm hoping that it's something that will increase over time, that it will be sort of bring your partner along. And I also think don't be frightened to speak up and say that. You do join a support group, to actually say to the organizers, would it be possible to have a bring your partner event, even as just a one-off to start with, because I think it's definitely an area that has a huge amount of benefits, and an area we need to work more on and change. So thank you, Diana.
So much indeed. And before I go to the next question from Diana, there is a similar question, okay, from Natalie. Let's have a look. So, are there any support groups for men? I feel that it could be good for my husband to try connecting. We're finally deciding that egg donation treatment might be the only way for us, but I still feel that he's still not convinced it is the way for us. Maybe if you could talk to someone who's gone through it, could help. Any advice?
Great question, Natalie, and very specifically on donation treatment. It's definitely an area online. You may be able to find some groups specific for men, because this is an area where it becomes mandatory. Here in Australia, it is mandatory to have counselling if you are going for donation, either egg or sperm donation treatment. So I'm not sure where you are in the world, but you can seek out whether there is support through your clinic. In terms of actual support groups, I think your best bet is online for donation treatment support groups and donation treatment organizations. I think there will definitely be some that will run specific male groups. But I think the other thing to address with your question is, and that this is so often the case, especially when you're going for donation treatment and trying to make those decisions, is that you are not often on the same page at the same time as your partner. It can take a little bit longer for one partner to arrive at that decision. And I think the advice really is to not force and push that process, as hard as that can be. And I know it's always about timescales and moving forward, but you can't always rush that emotional journey to non-genetic parenthood. You have to sort of process some of those things. So it may also be that you could seek some information from your clinic or from a donation agency around working through that process, deciding on it. Or there is some organizations who sort of promote stories of people who've gone through donation treatment. Because I think what I've often found is that the issues around non-genetic parenthood and making those decisions, once you've actually gone down the line and have your dream family through donation treatment, a lot of those initial fears and concerns are not even there. They're not even on the table anymore. But when you are in them and making those decisions, they really do feel very, very important and very, very serious to discuss. So it's important that we don't rush that process, and that you almost have to wait for your partner to arrive at that place with you. as you say, seeking out information, other stories, and potentially a support group can really help him along that line and along those decisions. With that decision, he may be able to access through your clinic one-to-one support with the counsellor there, or you may be able to look at a specific fertility coach or counsellor in your area or online that could specialise and help work with him. There's a guy, I will find the name and you can always email me for it. There's a guy called Russell, and I can't remember his surname for the life of me right now. And he is in the UK, and he talks a lot about that male experience of going through infertility, and has got some specific materials for that. So that might be another area that you could look at, although I don't think it's specific to donation treatment.
Amazing. Thank you so much, of course, Natalie, for sharing as well, and of course for your advice. I'm sure it's helpful for Natalie as well. Okay, and let's have a look. Might be our final question from Diana, but of course, again, if you would like to add anything, you know what to do. And Diana has added, are any support groups that include doctors, psychologists?
Yes, there is a lot of variety of groups out there that some are run by the doctors at the clinics. The majority are actually run normally by the psychologist or the counselling staff at the clinics. You can absolutely seek out some of those. I think they can be, again, it's like I said, around the type of group and trying to choose the one that's right for you. It depends. If you are trying to seek support from a more medical side of things, then you would look for a doctor-based support group. But I think, generally the remit of support groups is around that more emotional and that impact of infertility. So looking for a group that's run by a psychologist or a counsellor or a coach would be probably best placed for you. Now, there's a difference, I often have to explain this between coaching and counseling as well. So I am a coach, I'm trained a counselor as well, but I'm a coach because what I do is coach people forward. So a lot of coaching is facing forward, whereas a lot of counseling can be facing backwards. Not always, but can be facing backwards. So it's also thinking about which approach in terms of those is right for you. Is there things that you need to address, past decisions, past regrets, past traumas, for example? And counseling and a counseling-based approach can be really, really helpful for you. My approach is to be very forward focused, to be very solution focused as well, which is a very coaching type of approach. So it's really important that you find the right remit of group, and who it's run by will give you a really good indication of the remit of the group.
Well, again, thank you so much, of course, for yet another question, Diana, and help, as always, Karenna. Okay, just checking if there is anything else that you would like to ask. If not, we will be finishing, but I do believe it has been very useful. And remember, it has been recorded. So if you would like to check it out once again, or maybe you would like to share it with someone, you will be able to simply have a look at our YouTube channel and our website, and it's out there, right there for you. Natalie has added one more comment. Okay, I just want you to see. Thank you so much for this. I found it very useful, and I feel a bit more encouraged. That's good to hear.
I'm very pleased, Natalie. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you so much indeed. And we will be finishing. However, is there anything, Karenna, you would like to add before we finish?
I think I just want to add that if you are even thinking about reaching out for more support, it is worth doing it. I really think it could bring you so many benefits, and so many things, that unknown benefits. So go for it, reach out your comfort zone and go into these groups and just give them a try, because that's all you need to do is just give them a try and see how they feel for you and how they can support you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, if you don't like it, you can always just go and leave, right? So this is exactly. Thank you so much. And one more comment here, okay? Maybe you can have a look as well. I'm a psychologist from Argentina, and I'd like to know some information or books about this. Anything you
Well,
can advise?
there's so many. I've got a whole shelf here. You can probably see books on fertility counselling and coaching, and particularly on support groups. I would probably reference the work of Dr. Ali Domar from Boston, from Harvard, as probably the leading expert in mind and body fertility groups and supporting women. And actually, she is probably has the most evidence-based and the most scientifically studied information. So I would look up her work. She's got a wonderful book for anyone to read called Conquering Infertility. It's a truly wonderful book, so I would definitely recommend that one. But in terms of the studies, her work over the last 30 years has consistently shown huge impacts, huge benefits in terms of the rise of sort of moving people from feeling depressed, feeling stressed, feeling anxious, really moving people from those states through working through support groups and giving people these practical tools to help with their mindset and their relationships and their lifestyle. So I would definitely probably check out that as the leading, as some of the leading work. But happy if you want to email me. My details are all on the website. You can contact me through there, and I can give you a bit of a rundown of some of the other books and information on this theme as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much also for that comment. And it's incredible to see that, of course, this is like an international thing here. So thank you for joining from Argentina as well. That's amazing always to see that we are able to connect in one place from different parts of the world. So thank you. And of course, there's a thank you for you. Thanks a lot. And yes, that will be it, I guess, for tonight. So thank you, everyone, each and everyone, for joining us tonight, for spending this time with us. And as you know, we will be back. Okay, Karenna, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. And I know that this is just one of those webinars with you. I know there will be more. I'm looking forward to it already. And thank you once again. And of course, as I've mentioned, it has been recorded. You will have a chance to watch this again, so you can go to our YouTube channel and our website, and you will be actually redirected to Karenna's profile on our site. So if you would like to take a look, there were previous webinars with her. You can check it out. I'm sure you will be able to find it useful as well. And so thank you. Have a lovely evening or day wherever you are. And yeah, that will be it. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.